Let's talk about the brighter side of things, the highlights of a print.
Because I think they are very important. And highlights should enhance your composition. It's easy for them to instead detract. And let me give you an example. This is a painting by the Russian I. Shishkin, found in the Biology of Seeing book. And the reason I'm showing you this, you might wonder, is because years ago, researchers had people look at this for like 5 minutes and then traced where their eyes went. Now, did I mention that's an old guy standing in the forest?
Yes, he does look like an old guy.
So I think that would be a high point, but let's see the trace here. So yeah, definitely he was the high point. But another high point would be maybe right here. And what is that?
Those big bright spots.
It's the sky peeking through the forest, and maybe in a painting that gives some realism to it. But I think in a photograph, I would find that distracting. So, but my contention is that people are attracted to, sadly, bright, shiny objects. So wherever there's bright in your picture, you need to pay attention to it because people are going to look there. And I happen to have almost exactly the same problem in this picture I made in 1997. Let me zoom in a little, and you'll see I have the little sky holes, the sky peeking through the forest cover there. And when I used to print this as a dye transfer print, I felt so strongly that I would actually get out the retouching brushes and paint out each of these little highlight things, because they're what I call rogue highlights. They're out of control, and they don't add to the composition. At least these don't. They detract. Sometimes it's amazing people, they have like one really bright thing in their print, and they just don't see it. One way you can, discombobulate your brain so you start to notice these things is just to invert the image like that. And then it's like, basically you just look for bright things and here they are. So this is an old John Sexton trick. And in fact, he learned about it in painting class or Renaissance art. And so painters will do this a lot. On the Antarctic trip, Joe Cornish, the English photographer, said that he often tweaks his image in Lightroom upside down. So highly recommended.
I find that if I squint at a print, I find the white spots, because my eye tends to go to the brighter spots when you're squinting.
And many times in the field, I will squint, to see exactly what are the dark, because the dark kind of pop out in the highlights too. So. And, the sky peeking through here, that's basically pure white. So you can't darken them, really. What you have to do is clone them out. Right. So let me get rid of these now, and let's see what difference it makes.
Oh, that was pretty magic. What tool did you use for that?
Well, the Photoshop healing brush is amazing. But let me put them back here. And it's like, had too much caffeine. Notice there's busyness here.
Oh yeah, just the little tiny ones in the center of the subject there.
And it's just distracting. When they're gone, now we can enjoy the beautiful tones in the trunk here, and they glow.
Big change.
More beautifully, yes. So I think a little thing like that can make a big difference. Here's the entire picture, and this kind of has a similar problem too. The background is kind of busy here, and this is similar to the trees we took yesterday too. Yes. It's at the edge of a clearing, so the trees right on the edge get the most light, and then as we go further back in the forest, everything gets darker, so it provides that dark background. It's beautiful lighting. But what I decided to do here was to, do a humongous edge burn, and that'll help make this tree glow that way too. So here we go.
Ooh, there you go. Pop it right out.
So let me undo it and do it again. Let me show you another picture. This is some petroglyphs in Canyonlands National Park. And I remember first printing this, and I thought it looked fine on the monitor. And now I must say, I've been advising the white surround, but with this slide presentation, we're using black surround just for ease of use. But I was surprised when I made this first print, because the brightest thing in this picture is kind of like right in here. Yeah. And what is it? It's like a smudge. It's not an important part of the picture. So we have to darken it. boom. And now we can enjoy the other brighter things here. And you know, one more thing. Many times we have to be very clear with, because this is a soft light picture, and what's great about soft light is we can orchestrate the light and darken things and lighten things. And by lightening, we can tell people, this, I think, is important. So I was most intrigued with this white ghost, so let me lighten him. So what I've done now is just darken and lighten, just a little reorchestration of the light. Let me show you the before. So the spotlight is kind of like right down here now. It's not working. And all I do is move the spotlight up to the important part of the picture. It's a better composition now just by moving that light around. And I have one last picture here. This is also Canyonlands and taken with a telephoto lens. And those lenses tend to be very even with little light fall off on the edges. Although, you know, with Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw now, if you click the lens profile button, it'll remove all that vignetting for you, so it'll be very even too. But what I thought was you know, if I look at my eyes kind of going like this, everything is kind of the same brightness. So I thought this needed an edge burn, like darkening maybe a little at the top here on that edge. So let me do that. Now, that was so subtle, you probably didn't even, let me undo it. Do it again. It's very subtle.
Very subtle.
And it's supposed to be that way. It shouldn't look heavy-handed. If I switch to the white surround, I think we can see it a little better. So here's before, here's after. Before, after. It is a little darker now. We can enjoy this a little bit more. And you know, as long as we're doing that, I'm thinking, where do I want people to look? And I kind of like the spot in here. So let me lighten that. So I think that's going to work. But let me take it. We've looked at it now for a while. We've gotten used to it. Let me take it away. See, it looks dingy now, right? I mean, it's a very subtle change. And if I did it with a curve, and I hardly moved the curve at all to do that. But again, I've reorchestrated just a few little simple things to reorchestrate the light. So here's before,
After, very subtle.
Before, after. It makes a big difference. Again, it doesn't have to be heavy-handed. It's just enough to bring viewers' eyes into the area that you desire.
Yeah, well done. And I think it's really important with all the tools we have available in our processors these days, to be able to go in there and do layers and even darken those things down. This is also another good reason why, if any of our readers and viewers are still shooting JPEG, they should really consider, you know, making the journey over to RAW and learning how RAW helps so much better in regards to that. So you really couldn't do what you're doing in JPEG.
Not nearly as well.
No.
So.
Cool.
Okay.
Excellent example. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.